I'm Javier de Leon. I'm the Texas Parks and Wildlife Advisor for the chapter. A little bit of history, personal history. Tom's going to talk about the history of TMN and the chapters, but personal history. I took the Master Naturalist training in 2005 while I was still in college, and it was awesome. You know, there's some folks from my class that I still talk to that I can just call up. Met them 15 years ago. We see each other maybe once a year, but you know, we do develop friendships, and so I hope you guys cool people that you'll keep in touch with. And I learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot about nature and the valley, but I learned a whole lot more through these classes. So it's really, really neat. One thing that I wanted to say before I hand it off to Tom Butler. So we are. Texas Master Naturalist is an organization that's run by both A&M AgriLife Extension and Texas Parks and Wildlife. And this organization, we're an apolitical organization, so we don't bring up politics. You know, especially if we're wearing our TMN badges. So I know it's there's a lot of stuff going on, and honestly, we just. You know, the organization is apolitical, and we expect our folks to be apolitical too when we're representing the chapter as a volunteer. So just want to put that out there. And they told me that the first orientation too. So it's something that we always kind of keep in mind.
Javier's already introduced you to the fact that Texas Parks and Wildlife, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension are our sponsors. We are connected to them so that, as Javier mentioned, when you put on your TMN gear, your TMN name tag, you are a representative of these two organizations. As such, politics is off limits. We don't talk about politics, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Javier, religion is also not a topic that we don't address or talk about when we're wearing our gear. Take off your badge, take off your t-shirt, your hat, whatever says you're a master naturalist, and you become a private citizen, and you can say whatever you want to whomever you want, but you can't do that when you're acting as a master naturalist. Those restrictions apply. Okay, so the program history started in 1997 with the first chapter established in San Antonio. You saw that early in the clip there. It was modeled after the Master Gardener program, but they were looking for people who could assist with dealing with natural resources and plants and animals broader than the Gardener program. And they wanted them specifically to assist the biologists, urban biologists in San Antonio. In March of '98, the statewide program went statewide. So now we had a state organization guiding chapters which were popping up all over the state. So they had some uniformity and some assistance in forming chapters. August of '99, they hired a state program coordinator. And in 2002, just 5 years after the organization started, the Rio Grande Valley chapter formed here and are headquartered in San Benito. 2012, they started offering classes in Mission. We were at the Butterfly Center part of the time. We were at the Benson State Park part of the time for classes that year, and that's the class that I was in 2012. We had I think almost 35 members in that group, and we became the class of 2012. Interestingly enough, the next year, the group that was doing the instruction for the new class of 2013 was made up entirely of class members from the 2012 class. So you have an opportunity to just jump right in and take off once you get your certification. 2015, the South Texas Border chapter split off from the Rio Grande Valley chapter. We had almost 100 members to start with. The Rio Grande Valley chapter had over 100 members. So it was becoming a big organization. and you'll laugh about this in a minute, but people here in the Mission area did not want to drive I-2 to San Benito for meetings because the highway just intimidates a lot of people. So anyway, we split apart and formed a separate chapter. In 2018, the TMN state program celebrates its 20th year. And in 2020, the South Texas Border chapter celebrates its 5th year. And in 2022, the Rio Grande Valley chapter will celebrate its 20th year. So that's a quick history of the program, where it came from, and give you some idea of where it's going. Our mission is to develop a corps of well-trained master volunteers to provide education, outreach, and service dedicated toward the beneficial management of natural areas and resources within our communities for the state of Texas. So that's our mission as Master Naturalists. We are to develop a statewide Master Naturalist volunteer network that efficiently and effectively improves public understanding of natural resource ecology and management, and enhances existing natural resource education outreach activities. And we're just part of that statewide program. What do we do? Well, we increase support and awareness for conservation. We support urban wildlife biology and natural resources, and not just urban, but all wildlife biology, natural resources. We promote conservation partnerships. Partnerships are organizations that we work with. Here in the Rio Grande Valley, we've got a plethora of organizations that we can work with. I'll name a few: the Valley Nature Center, Sea Turtle Inc., Quinta Mazatlan, Edinburgh Wetlands, the Audubon Society, Sable Palms, Benson, Resaca de la Palma, and Estero Llano Grande State Parks, the national parks, Santa Ana National Wildlife Area, Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Area, and schools. So those are our partners that we work with, providing manpower, providing expertise to some of these, providing leadership to things like schools. It runs the whole gamut as far as what we do there. Improved science and data collection is part of our mission. I personally am heavily involved with a couple of bird banders in this area, and I assist them in setting up nets and taking down nets and taking birds out of nets and helping to put everything, just make everything work better for them so that they can do more than what they would do if they didn't have assistance. And there are a number of us that do that. Help to improve public access to the outdoors includes things like building trails, clearing trails, improving trails, maybe fixing up places where they're washed out, or adding some gravel to the surface to reduce the amount of mud on a trail. All sorts of things are done to improve public access, including even projects that would allow handicapped better access to our outdoor assets. Okay, so this is the present day Master Naturalist program statewide. 48 chapters. Some of them, like the Panhandle chapter there, cover a whole lot of territory. Look at El Paso, and you see an area there that is huge in size. Keep in mind, we formed 2 chapters because it's too long to travel to San Benito from Mission. But anyway, you see the area that they take. When a chapter takes an area and commits to that area, they have projects going on throughout the area. So I think it would be very interesting to see what's going on in all of those counties up in the Panhandle. We have down here just the best area in the whole state as far as the number of partners we have and the variety of natural resources that we have. We are deep into Texas. We are just 3 degrees north, latitude north of the Tropic of Cancer. So we are a subtropical area, and that doesn't apply to the Panhandle at all. So 416 partners, 213 counties. Over 80% of Texas is served by the Master Naturalist program, and the pieces that are not out here in this area of Texas and in the South Central and out here in West Texas, very low population. There's not many people to draw from, and so we don't have representation in those areas. And there's other areas that we'll fill in the future. 12,800 volunteers statewide. The program, bit by bit, builds to bunches, just little bits, everybody doing their part. We have those 12,800 volunteers that have been trained, and these statistics are last year's statistics. Right now, they're collecting the current year's statistic, 2020, and those numbers will go up, probably not like they have in past years, but they'll go up. 6.2 million hours of community outreach and service projects with a value of more than $102 million to date. They value our hours, our time, put a dollar figure on it, what it would cost for Quinta Mazatlan to hire another person, what it would cost for Valley Nature Center to hire another person, and that's how they arrive at that figure. Today, over 426,000 youth and adults have been reached annually, and over 6 million to date. Statistics like these are kept for two purposes. One is for our knowledge to see how the program is developing, and a second is that we apply for grants to support the program, especially at the state level, to hire the people we have at the state level and to provide support for local organizations that are local chapters that are forming and so forth. The statistics help us to get those grants. 229,000 acres of habitat have been enhanced. Over 2,020 miles of interpretive trails have been developed or improved, and 33 national and state local awards have been received, including the 2014 Texas Commission on Economic or on Environmental Quality, Environmental Excellence Award, 2015 Governor's Volunteer Award, 2017 Innovations in American Government Awards, Bright Ideas, and a host of other awards. And that's another reason for those statistics. Those statistics help to get us those awards. There are individual awards and recognition. We're going to start over on this side of the page of the screen here. The Texas Master Naturalist Program service pins. These are individual awards for you as you recertify. It says there recertification, if you can read that on your screen. And there's one for each year, and they're unique. Each year is a different one. My first one was the 2012 recertification, the bat. And from there on, I've got everyone so far. These are the last 5 years. This year's award, the Bumblebee. This year, 2020 award was the Bumblebee. Somebody might know what the award will be for this year. I haven't heard yet, but every year it's different. Now, back up. Down here at the bottom, we have the dragonfly, which is the TMN symbol. The copper one there is for friends. These are for 250 service hours of bronze, silver 500 service hours, a gold at 1,000 service hours, a polished silver at 2,500 hours, polished gold with ruby at 4,000 hours. And at 4,000 hours, you can also receive the National 1,000 Points of Light Award for volunteer service from the President of the United States. I know of one member that has achieved that, the Rio Grande Valley chapter. There probably are others, I'm not certain. At any rate, there's a 5,000 hour award, there's a 10,000 hour award, and this was several years old. That says 2015. When I attended a statewide meeting a few years ago, they added a 15,000 hour award level and now a 20,000 hour award level, because there really are people who do put in 10, 20 hours a week, week after week, year after year as master naturalists, and you can get your hours up that high. For most of us, it's whatever we can afford and whatever we can fit into our schedule, other things that we do. From Texas, we go to the nation. We don't do it. Texas has our own program, but other states looked at what we had and said, we'd like to do that too. So they make up their own program. Their program will be different from ours. They don't necessarily have to, they don't follow our rules. We don't have a national Master Naturalist program like the Master Gardeners have a national program. Every Master Gardener chapter nationwide would be the same. With Master Naturalist, it's not. So let's take a look at our chapters. 2002, the Rio Grande Valley chapter, there's the Chacalaca and the palm. 2015, the South Texas border chapter with the Roadrunner and the cactus there. Just picking symbols, and we'll see those on T-shirts and hats and other places. The Master Naturalist chapter is organized for charitable, scientific, and educational purposes to develop a group of volunteers to provide education, outreach, and service dedicated to the study of conservation, natural resources, natural areas in the lower Rio Grande Valley. Now, the thing about chapters is that their training is specific. We're doing the lower Rio Grande Valley. The chapter up in the Panhandle is going to concentrate their instruction on the Panhandle. So for people that say, well, if I do get my certification here, can I move to San Antonio or can I move to the Panhandle and just join a chapter there? Yes, but they're going to require you to take the training again, because what you're going to get here is specifically for the Rio Grande Valley, so that you know as much as you can possibly know about the stuff that's here. When you get to the Panhandle, it's a whole different world. And so you'll need to take their training to find out about the plants, the animals, the natural resources, the concerns, the problems that they have, and so forth, that are specific to the Panhandle. Someone from the Panhandle comes down here, they have to take our training because they've never seen a Chacalaca up in the Panhandle, I can guarantee you. Our members, all walks of life. We have everyone from students and carpenters, scientists, private landowners, teachers, attorneys, office managers, you name it. We've had members in those categories. Lots of retired people, because retired people have lots of time to volunteer. Lots of students, young people, because it's a great way to build your resume, to add to your experience, especially if you're in the sciences or you're in natural resources. Just the involvement with this group, the experience of that on a resume puts you a step up on many other people. So that's membership in the organization. Here's how you get certified. We call it the 48-40 rule for certification. The first 40, the yellow one here, is 40 hours of basic instruction. 30 of that is class. 10 of that is field trips. When you finish that 40 hours, you will receive a certificate of completion, which says you've completed the class hours. You're not a Master Naturalist yet, but you got the first 40 to get there. Now, the next thing you need is the 8, which is 8 hours of advanced training. Now, what is advanced training? Well, this is when you attend a speaker at Kintamazatlan or at the Edinburgh Wetlands or at the Valley Nature Center, or maybe you take a walk with a naturalist at the state park, or you attend a training session at Sea Turtle Inc. would be an example. There are training for coastal naturalists. I did that one year. You also have 40 hours of volunteer work to do. Both of these requirements are on your own. You find the advanced training, you attend it, You're doing this individually. You can get together with friends and go together, but you're going to be there on your own as an individual. You're going to have your name tag on. You're going to have your T-shirt on, something that identifies you as a master naturalist when you go to these programs for advanced training. That's part of our outreach, publicity, getting out there. People see that badge, they see the shirt, maybe they decide they'd like to know more about master naturalist. 40 hours of volunteer work. Again, unless the job is such that you might tear up your name badge or lose it, you're expected to have your name tag on. You're expected to have something on, a hat, a shirt that identifies you as a master naturalist. When I go bird banding, I can't have that badge on because it snags the net. So I've got a T-shirt that I wear, a hat that I wear that says I'm a master naturalist. But anytime you're volunteering, you have your identification on, identifying you as a master naturalist. Now, when you have completed that 8 and that 40, you get your certificate as a master naturalist. Once you are certified, you are a master naturalist for life. It's a non-expiring certificate. It only expires when you do. So you can get certified and do nothing more. You can still say, I'm a master naturalist. But if you want to be active as a master naturalist, we want you to turn in some hours every year, a few hours. If you want one of those recertification pins that I showed you, the little animals, plants, you're going to do 8 hours of advanced training and 40 hours of volunteer work in a calendar year to qualify for that recertification pin. If everybody in a chapter of 100 TMN members does their 40 hours of volunteer work, the chapter provides 4,000 hours of volunteer work. And there were how many chapters? There's a whole bunch of chapters there. Multiply that times 4,000 hours. That's how you get to those big numbers, those big number of hours. Bit by bit, everybody doing a little something, and it all together accumulates into some serious contribution to the natural world. Certification as Texas Master Naturalist. There you go. The road certification has a time limit, is that you have to complete your certification before the next class graduates. So for those of you, this year gives you about 13, 14 months to meet the requirements for certification. So the 8 hours of advanced training, the 40 hours of volunteer work, that needs to be accomplished before that next class graduates. Here's what 30 hours of instruction looks like. That gentleman, handsome gentleman in the center of the picture there, that's Javier. And this was a class from several years ago. But we got an instructor in the class, and this is how you get advanced training too. This could be a workshop, this could be a presentation by a college professor, or it could be a presentation by another TMN member. But if you're attending a class, that's advanced training as well. But 30 hours of classroom instruction is what we'll provide. 10 hours of field instructions. This particular year, these people are from Sea Turtle Inc. That's the track of a sea turtle. They created it for us so that we could see what a sea turtle track looks like. Okay, so that's field instruction. Here's another. We're seining the Laguna Madre here, and we're looking at various sea critters that we've been able to bring up from there. Okay, so there's 10 hours of field instruction, and that's how you get that. 8 hours of advanced training. Now you're in a group listening to someone expound on whatever it is. This is at Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge, and someone's talking about, I think, the history of the cemetery there, but probably some of the plants and animals and so forth as well. Over here, we've got a little beach combing going on, pulling up shells, and someone who's an expert in that is sharing their information about seashells. The volunteer work can be something related to education. Here, kid fishing is an activity that they have at the Edinburgh wetlands when they do their coastal expo every spring. Good volunteer opportunity for the class. Not easy work. You see, I got a line to untangle here. Kids fishing, lines are going to be tangled. Volunteer work can be community outreach. You see a Rio Grande Valley chapter booth here at the Harlingen Birding Center each fall, or here's some instruction for students. This may be another booth there at the Edinburgh Wetlands. You might be volunteering service, releasing a turtle, sea turtle, one of the rescue turtles. When they do this, it doesn't quite look like that most of the time. You're not probably going to be carrying the turtle, might, but they need a lot of people for crowd control. They need people to partition off the areas where they don't want the public. They need people to go around and talk to people in the crowd and tell them a little bit about this turtle. How old is it? Why was it captured? How long has it taken them to rehab this and so forth? So you could be a source of information. You could be hands helping. You might be directing traffic, where to park. These are normally publicized and heavily attended things, and they need lots and lots of volunteers to help out for that. You might be planting gardens. Master naturalists get dirty. Lots of dirt work. Planting plants, tending plants, weeding gardens, and it's sometimes hard work. Look at all those wheelbarrows. Lots of hard work, moving things around, cleaning things up. Okay, the part of that 40 hours of volunteer service might be planting a line of plants here. Here we've got looks like a beach cleanup. I think that's a water back there. It looks like kind of like Laguna Atascosa. This is a beach cleanup along South Padre somewhere. Our hope is that you are here because we want you to learn, because you want to learn more. We hope that you are concerned about your local environment. We know you are because you're here. You wouldn't come otherwise. We want you to want to educate others, help them understand why things have to be done to save native plants. What does it matter whether this plant is here or gone? Things like that. Hope you want to give back to the community, that you love nature and the outdoors and want to be a master naturalist. We invite you to learn, stay involved, participate, volunteer, and network. Each of the chapters has a website, and the state has a website, txmn.org for the state. For the Rio Grande Valley chapter, it's RGVCTMN.org. For the South Texas border chapter, STBCTMN.org. And that's it. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. That's Margaret Mead.